Welcome back to the Uncarved Block, where the opinions matter, the arguments matter, but not my hair. Yes, when you're as old as me, you don't care what people think about your bedhead. So Jovan Bradley is a guy that I've done videos on before, pointing out his nonsense and his disingenuousness. And recently, I commented on one of his videos and said, "Why don't you debate me?" And he said, "Anytime, anywhere, or name the time and place," or something along those lines. I'll show the screenshot in a second. Since then, he has dodged any of my comments on his videos. I have contacted him on Instagram, I've tagged him on YouTube, and he consistently ignores my request for let's set this up. So essentially, he was probably just trolling, maybe give them the benefit of the doubt. I know he's not ill or anything because he's still making videos. Let's get into it. If this is something you enjoy, please like, subscribe, share, and get the word out so we can stop these idiotic arguments. If any trans person or trans ally thinks they have good arguments and can debate these things calmly and thoughtfully, please contact me because I am perfectly willing to contact you. Even if you want to argue and be aggressive, sure, contact me. But I'll set it based upon how you react. Let's get into it. So here, as you can see, is where I initially messaged him on a comment on the video, "Sex and gender is way too complicated for them." So I said, "Yeah, debate me on a neutral platform then." And Jovan replied directly, "Pick a time and place." And he got my hopes up because essentially all trans persons or their allies that have made ridiculous statements like this, I have challenged to debate me live, such as those on the line especially, and they decline or flat out refuse. I'm not all about numbers. Yes, I know I'm a small channel, but I don't even see them debating people with big numbers. I mean, I'm sure there are others with bigger numbers that would be happy to debate them, but they don't even debate them on these issues. They just sit there in their own little bubble with their mute buttons and controlling the conversations, and they're afraid because they know they're wrong of doing this on a live platform. And here is on Instagram where I notified him to check his DMs because, some people don't always check their DMs. "Let's debate as you agreed." And here is said DM. "Hey, this is the Uncarved Block." So, since I have a different account on Instagram, "Let's set up that debate. I have a mod who will do it on his channel. It can be Saturday afternoon or a weekday evening. Let me know. Also check in with Modern Day Debate, but not sure if that would go through." I also messaged the Raging Tomato, but she says you have to participate in their panel discussions. And those things are just, you got 8 people and you're not going to get a word in. And, I'm not going to, it's not important enough to me to do that. It's not a valuable use of my time unless they're actually talking about a topic that I'm engaged with. And then finally, here's a little short on YouTube that I commented. "Jovan, this is your last chance to respond to my debate challenge. I have commented on your videos and on Instagram. You stated anytime, any place. I let you know when we can schedule it." Now, Jovan did say, "Schedule it and we'll do it." But, here's the thing. I have maximal confidence that if I just would have scheduled it, I would have been sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. And Jovan would be over there beating off how happy he is that he trolled me. So no, I wanted it scheduled. I want him committed. I want him saying, "Yes, I will be there. I agree to it." And if he didn't show, then I could expose how dishonest he is, because I do think he's dishonest. I'm going to, since he won't debate me live, I will address some of his comments and posts and videos and see what happens. And he is not getting views from me because there are ways to circumvent views. So any Jovan fanboys don't think I'm supporting him by watching his videos because I'm not watching them on YouTube. Like many TRAs, Jovan likes to play this pronoun game. Whenever you call into a show, he will ask you name, age, and pronouns. And almost invariably, many of his callers who disagree with his views will say, "I don't have pronouns." And then he will say, "Well, you just used a pronoun. You said I." or he will play other games, and it's just pointless. It's just pointless. I mean, if somebody's going to get upset because you call them the wrong pronoun, they need to get a life. And second of all, as you can see from his own graph that he presented to one of his callers, it says third person male, he, him, his, himself. Third person female, she, her, hers, herself. So they have made up this game that attempts to say that they can define words how they choose. I don't have a clip of it, but because Jovan will almost immediately put all his videos under membership only. So you can't, unless you do it then and there, you cannot get claims he makes, and it's very hard to get evidence against him because he's a coward. But he has stated in one of his videos that he has a made up definition that he got from somebody else who made it up. At least he admitted that. And he thinks you can define words however you want. However, male and female have distinct biological definitions, and these are factual. They aren't things we made up. These are facts. And despite the fact that he claims to be an atheist and associates himself with atheists on the line, he essentially has a religious existentialist belief that we can just define words however we want, and that defines reality. However, if you're really being accurate with your terms, as accurate as possible, which I think any skeptic should, then if someone is a biological male, you should call them he. If they are a biological female, you should call them she. And they should not get upset by that, because that is a fact. If someone calls me fat, I don't get upset. It's a fact. Even if they do it insultingly, I don't care. If they call me bald, it's a fact. I don't care. Here's Jovan playing one of his little games. Okay, he's going to ask this man, can you define biological sex? Give me a definition. And the guy does. And then Jovan, he twists it into a different category, period. Watch.
Do me a favor. Provide me a functional definition for the word sex.
It's either a male or a female.
Okay, look at Jovan wince. It's like, oh, this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, well, the guy's being kind of general, and a lot of people are pretty general because this is a very general thing that we've known for a long time. There are only two sexes in humans. There are male and female. This is based on gamete production, reproductive pathways, most often chromosomes. There are different ways of looking at it. So Jovan is wincing when the guy is actually given, in a basic tense, in basic terms, a correct definition. Watch what Jovan does.
Okay. So if I asked you to define car and you responded with Ford or Ferrari, would that be a definition of car?
Not a definition.
How many cars are there? Okay, there's only one car, right? I mean, there's one car. There are things we call different cars, but when you say what is a car, there's one definition. However, when you ask what is sex, when it refers to not the activity that most of us enjoy, when you say what is sex in the context of biological definitions in humans, it's male and female. So Jovan has entirely shifted the conversation just to suit his narrative, and I don't think this guy catches it. We will see. This is why Jovan would lose a public debate.
Okay. So when I asked you to provide me a functioning definition of the term sex, and you just said male and female.
X, Y, and X chromosomes. How's that?
Okay. So if I asked you to define the word sport, and you said football and basketball.
Okay, sport has a definition. And there are different kinds of sports. But however, Jovan, what this guy needs to call Jovan on is, can you name a third or more sexes? Can you name a third sex? Can you name a fourth sex? Can you name a fifth, et cetera, et cetera? Can you even name a third sex, Jovan? No, you can't. That's why you're a dishonest quim.
Basketball. Would that tell me what sports are?
Again, I'll change male to female to X, Y, and XX chromosomes.
You're giving
Sports are also created. We did not create the sexes. We did not create our evolutionary pathway to success, the way we procreate to um, for the success of our species. We have created sports, Jovan, another category here.
me examples. I asked for a definition.
The definition of what sex is. Okay.
Yes.
Sex is either you are born as either a male or you were born as a female, and that is what sex is.
That's true. How does Jovan disagree with that? Does he name a third sex?
Okay.
You either have a penis or you have a vagina.
Okay.
You can,
That is true in 99.5 of cases. Actually, I think in all cases. Well, it's very rare that somebody's born without one or the other. I guess there probably are, unfortunately. But does that mean it created a new sex, or does that mean something went wrong?
either have children or you can either impregnate people.
Let's pretend I'm an alien.
The arrogant condescension of this Quim is amazing. I mean, he's performative. He does this to make money. I mean, if he really believes all this, he's dumber than I thought.
Who has never I reproduce asexually. So I don't know what sex is. Never even heard of it. Okay. I'm an alien, beat blur.
Okay, so you're asexual. If you're asexual, that's not a sex.
Blorp, here I am on Earth. Hey, Stuart, tell me what sex is. I keep hearing this term sex. What is that?
Okay, I appreciate that. You actually made it a lot easier for me. All right, sex is a concept that God created so that we can make more children. So He created a male, which has a penis, and a female, which has a vagina and uterus, and they create and make children so that way we can have children. So they have sex, they put the penis in the vagina, and then they have sex. And I would go into more detail if I felt like if you wanted me to go in with him, but that is how I would define what sex is for a
Okay, so sex,
alien.
do me a favor.
So again, when people do this, such as Jovan and others do it too, tell them to name the third sex. If they can't, they've lost the argument. And to explain this to an alien who was asexual, I would say in our species, our assignments are essentially divided between what we call male and female. The females produce a large gamete, and this is fertilized, because I'm sure the alien probably has an understanding of how plants fertilize. And this is fertilized by the male who produces a small gamete. And these each will contribute half the genome to produce this species, to produce this human, whether they are male or female. But just notice how Jovan does stuff. This is why he's a dishonest Quim. He really is. So I changed my mind. I have two more videos of Jovan's to cover, but they're much longer. They're each over 30 minutes long, and that would make this video unwieldy. And I think some viewers might prefer a shorter video every now and then. So I'm going to end it here. But essentially, Jovan agreed to debate. Probably he was lying. I wouldn't be surprised. There's my cat. Hush, big kitty. And I'm sure if I would have scheduled it, he would not have shown up, and he would just be somewhere beating off, enjoying himself. I tricked that turf. And if you do ever engage with Jovan and he wishes to play these games, just ask him what a third sex is. Just what's a third sex, Jovan? And if he can't name it, he loses the argument. He loses right there, and he knows that, and that's why he distracts everybody with all these disingenuous arguments and category errors and logical fallacies. And the guy will sit there and attempt to tell other people they need to learn logic when he does not know logic. So if you're a fan or an enemy of Jovan, enemy euphemistically, contact Jovan and say, look, debate these guys. If he doesn't want to debate me, if he wants somebody with bigger numbers, even though he already agreed, I don't care. But, I'm sure made by Jim Bob or Andrew Wilson or one of those guys would be happy to debate him. But he won't, because, like the people on the line, they're cowards and they won't debate on a neutral platform. And the only reasoning behind that is because they're wrong. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. I will make more Jovan videos just because they're so easy to rebut. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, and thank you for watching.